Hello, welcome to another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Companies. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm wonderful like always.
We're always wonderful.
Absolutely.
I'm just glad you're here. I tell you what, those 2 episodes that you were gone.
Well, I mean,
Man.
I thought maybe you would just come back and say, hey, I don't need you anymore. You're out. But no.
Had to try it on my own. It was just too much.
Right. Well, those solo artists, they hardly ever make it. After being a duet, they hardly ever make it.
Well, we've got a new guest in the podcast room with us today. An old friend, but new on the podcast, Kyle Pearson. And he is a senior research manager for WinField United in our neck of the woods. And he was up around Lafayette this morning, and he is rained out from planting answer plots. But before we do introductions and get too far into it, Kyle, you've watched the High Ground before, and so you know this is coming. It's the question of the day.
It's funny. People have a choice between this and a root canal, and they almost always pick this.
Absolutely.
So, Kyle, can you think, and the guest gets to go first, so can you think of a funny childhood story that your parents or siblings still tell about you? So kind of think about when you was a little kid and maybe you didn't know any better and nobody got hurt, nobody's injured, you didn't burn anything down, but just a funny story that they still tell the story of Thanksgiving or Christmas today.
I guess I can't really think of a story of something that I did. It was always something that was done to me. You know,
Oh, the victim.
When it
Are
was-
you the youngest?
No, I'm the middle child.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Oh, man.
That's tough.
Could we have not gotten one of his other siblings on?
I don't know. Either the young special one or the old smart
the old
one.
awesome one.
Yeah.
The picture that always comes out is me hanging on a doorknob. As you can see, I've never been the tallest person in the class or anything, and I don't know what I was doing wrong, but Dad hung me on the doorknob, and there I hang with my feet crossed and my arms crossed.
You were hung by your belt.
by my belt loop or coveralls or something. So, and then another one.
Does that picture still exist
Yes,
today?
yes, it still
love
does
to have
today.
I would love to have that.
I'll get that right out to you. Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I mean, we've only got, 18,000?
We wouldn't show it to
Viewers or
anybody.
something.
Yeah, we just want to see it.
And then another one, I guess the one that my brother would always get me on is my mom has always sewn clothes. I mean, we had Miami Vice shirts and jackets with padding and when we were kids. She also did our Halloween costumes. I remember being Raggedy Ann. My
You were
older
Raggedy
brother
Ann?
was Raggedy Andy.
Oh, wow.
I always got the short end of the stick. The next year he was a cowboy, I was an Indian, and the uncles are like, "Oh, there's Pocahontas," you know, because she had
no.
long hair, and so
Do those pictures exist?
yeah, I'm sure they're still around as well.
I'll give you $2 if you text them to me.
Yeah, two. That's
$2.
it.
$2.
That's pretty good.
That's good. That's good.
Ryan?
Oh, it's me. So in the old farmhouse that we lived in growing up, you could come out of the living room if you were a child. It seemed like because I was the only one that did it, and I'm the youngest of 5. But so you could come running out of the living room through the dining room, and the kitchen was only about wide enough. You could touch the cabinets on both sides. So it's sort of a summer kitchen in the old farmhouse. But anyway, you could get a pretty good head of steam up and hit that glass screen door handle and just blast right on out in the yard, just hard as you can go. I
and
remember,
not slow down at all.
well, it
or-
wouldn't latch. The door wouldn't latch, so it just didn't fit right, and so people just let it come shut, but it wouldn't latch. So you could just hit that on your way out; it would just open up, and boom, you were gone. Well, we had a family get together there one day, and somebody had apparently not been used to the whole system, so they latched it. So when I went through at my normal rate of speed that my dad had told me 1,000 times, stop running out that door. I put my hand on that glass plate and just went right on through just went right on through the glass. Just like did this Superman thing right through the glass, then hit concrete, 2 concrete steps, boom, then down onto a concrete sidewalk. I had blood everywhere. Yeah, but I remember my uncle he was really great around kids, but he's just an old gristled truck driver from back. I think this is the late 70s, so he was outside likely smoking a cigarette. And I just remember I rolled and I looked, and he's sitting on a picnic table, and he looks at me and he goes, "You all right?" No, I don't think.
I'm
the
a
opposite
long
of
way
that.
from all right.
Yeah, I'm probably the opposite of that. But I remember him looking at, you all right? Like, no, I'm not. But yeah, that's what they talked about that 4 years. Well, are you not going to run out that door? You're going to act like you got some sense and just walk out that door? But it did break me pretty quickly. So yeah, so for something that caused dearly dire injuries, yeah, it's a story that gets repeated at times.
In those old farmhouses, they didn't have the cement smooth. It was the rough concrete.
No, it was aggregate show. Yeah. It was exposed aggregate all the way to the ground.
Yeah,
So
sharp edge all over the top of it. Yep.
Oh yeah, crushed glass would have been would have was the least of my worries by the time I hit the concrete.
How old were you?
I don't remember. Well, we moved out of that house in our new house when I was 5, so I was pretty young. So we built our new home and when I was 5 years old and tore that one down. But
We dang.
yeah, it survived 5 of us for a few years there. But and it had concrete outside basement steps too. And I rode my bike accidentally down those one day as well. So broke my jaw on that same concrete. So yeah, I was glad we got a new house.
It's a wonder we survived.
Yeah, right. So Sal, what do you got?
I had to pick a story. I don't know. I'll pick the probably least problematic one, but we had always had aquariums, back in the 70s and stuff. I mean, people had fish aquariums and up until I got active enough, the first time we got rid of them was whenever I gave them a bubble bath. I took the Dawn dishwashing soap down there and gave them a bath, and it bubbled out and killed all the fish. And the last time I remember us having an aquarium, I went and I made a feed trough. I was going to feed them, and I put the fish food in a Lipton tea cap off of the old Lipton iced tea, how we used to have it. But I put the cap down there, and I put all the fish food in and dug all the fish out and lined them around the trough so they could eat their feed. Just like
Out of the water?
Oh, yeah. Just like the cattle, right? So I had them all lined up. Mom come in. What are you doing? I'm feeding the fish. Got to.
And they seem to not be that hungry.
Yeah, they couldn't get them to eat. I kept putting their little heads in there, but they wouldn't eat it.
They were off feed, huh?
They went off their feed.
Yeah, they'll go off feed. You take them out of water. Wow, Sal.
That was the end of I was little. I didn't know any better.
Seems like a foretelling of how you turned out.
Lots of stuff, right? Yeah. Well, Kyle, tell us about your career path that led you to where you're at today. So give us a little history. I mean, sometimes we have folks in the industry and coworkers, and we don't know how they kind of ended up where they're at today.
Okay. Well, grew up, my mother's father and her brothers all farmed. So I always knew that I kind of wanted to be in agriculture. I spent the summer with my grandfather until he retired in the 80s, and then started doing some FFRs where I started.
Oh, up at the research farm.
Correct. And when I was a kid, my best friend's dad worked there. So over the summer, I'd go in, I'd row corn. We would do flower color on soybeans. And I just kind of really enjoyed what I was doing there as a kid. I mean, that was 14, 15 years old.
So you weren't at school? You weren't at Purdue or nothing?
Correct.
Okay.
That's before that. And then I, of course, was detasseling then as well. So, which, my hands still hurt from that most of the time.
You didn't enjoy that part?
No.
No labor laws back then.
Correct.
The good old days, right?
Absolutely. And then started working on various farms here and there, but got into Purdue, did my first internship with FFR in 96. And my Purdue plan was the 8-year plan without coming out as a doctorate.
Nice.
So, and kind of went part-time for a while at Ivy Tech and Purdue. And then when my first daughter was born in 2000, that's when I kind of sat down and said, I got to finish this, So in 2002, I was coming out of school, got an internship back with FFR, and was an intern for 2 months before I went full-time. And it's just loved this industry since. I mean, research and what I'm doing is like I'm farming on my own because I do get to make a lot of the decisions in the field, but it's using somebody else's dime. It's not that I'm trying to lose money for any for them or anything, but it hits my heart, for the farming side of it. Do I still want to farm? I would love to eventually, but I don't know that funds are ever going to get there. I do help my uncles and stuff still once in a while, so it's fun.
So to explain a little more about what you're actually doing. So you've basically. So when did you start with WinField?
With WinField would have been in 2015. FFR closed its doors then.
Ah.
And a little bit of background on FFR. It was owned by Tennessee Farmers, Southern States Cooperative, and Land O'Lakes. And we started doing in '96 when I was an intern. We were doing answer plots for Land O'Lakes at that time.
And it was only at FFR or around the country?
Around the country.
Okay, very
Basically, in that time, we were just in Indiana. I think we had the one in Lagodi, maybe one over at Pershing, and then a couple others that I don't remember the names because it was forever ago. And then in '02, when I got there, we were doing Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan. We lost Ohio and Michigan. Then we started going south. We did Mississippi, Louisiana, Kentucky, Tennessee. We were all down there. And then we started doing some stuff in New York as well. And then as Land O'Lakes and WinField began putting crews on, it took more away from us. So we were still doing contract testing for other people as well. But answer plots was our focus realistically. And as contract testing went away, our breeding programs went away from FFR. That meant we had to get more money from Land O'Lakes. Then Land O'Lakes is footing the bill, and it's like, okay, it's time to do away with this because basically all we were doing was contract testing for them, you know, and we could do the same thing for them. So we were all rolled over. All my team rolled over into Land O'Lakes in 15 and 16.
Okay.
So
now tell us what is this answer plot network and what all is involved in. You mentioned that it's like your own farm, right? So it's you're basically a row crop farmer.
Yep, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about what it is and what you do.
So an answer plot itself, you've got two portions of it. You got the showcase portion, which the co-ops utilize to show growers new varieties, new hybrids, and new components that we put in the field. It's kind of a show and tell type of thing. You can go out there, you can pull plants, you can cut stalks, you can pull ears, you can do whatever you want. And then the second component would be the research component, where we take a lot of what's in the front and it goes to research. And it's small plot research, either 5 foot by 30 foot plots or 10 foot by 30 foot. We do have some that are a little bit longer, but doing the same type of stuff. Kind of lost my train of thought there, but
well, you said small plots, and that's kind of the demonstration area, right? That's the part where you can visually see different types of corn and soybeans growing out there.
But we'll have the same stuff in the research.
Which are bigger,
and you're pulling to yield. You're taking to yield.
We're taking to yield on that. So they're roughly I think there's 14 teams across the U.S. that is doing the same thing. We've got approximately.
How many's on a team?
There's usually 3 on a team.
3 on a team?
You got the manager and then 2 specialists under them. Approximately 100 row crop scenarios, locations. We do also have diversified crops. You start putting in field peas and canola, triticale, sunflower, sorghum. You know, there's research on all that as well out west. We do have some contract testing as well in the row crop and on the diversified that we do with other companies. And a lot of that's, you know, East Coast that we don't cover. It's not as heavily cropped, you know, so it's not worth us putting a crew on out there. So we'll do some contract stuff there. And I think in the Carolinas and Virginias and stuff, we'll do some out there as well. So I think there's roughly 35 locations of the contract testing on that. So
cool. So what kind of equipment you use to do this with?
So the equipment is mostly specialty when it comes to the planter and harvester. The planter, it's a Wintersteiger 4-row planter. Some guys, we do have, I think, 2 crews that are still on 20-inch rows, but the biggest part of us are on 30-inch rows. So the Delta is kind of a mix where you got 30s and 38s. Their planter has to go in and out because they are on beds down there at a lot of their locations. But it's kind of a vacuum style planter. It's got John Deere, actually it's Kinsey row units on it, but the internals are all totally different, you know. It's got, I should have brought some pictures or something. I could have brought a seed plate.
We can actually put those
you
up.
can send them to us.
Yeah.
But you got a seed plate and there's a guy sitting on the planter itself and it'll trip, you dump a packet It goes down to the next flap. That flap opens, goes into the row unit. It cycles that one through, but there's extra seed in there. So every 30 foot, you'll have this alley. That alley is when it's taking the extra seed out, evacuating it into a bowl, and then their next seed drops in. So every 30 foot, it's doing this. Within that,
You're changing a packet of test plot
changing seed. We can also change population at the same time and row lengths. So it's kind of astronomical, everything we can do. We can have 4 different populations going at once. I mean, that whole plot itself has to be the same row length, but the next plot can be a different row length. And we can go anywhere from probably 5 easy to 100 foot long. We've done hundreds before. The worst part about when you get to that, you're dumping so much seed in that it kind of overpowers it at times. So that's kind of the planner. Combine, it's also a Wintersteiger combine. I would like to say it's real fancy, but it's not. You know, it's this old cylinder machine. Started out as something, I think it's in Germany. It's a Sampo is how they started out. Wintersteiger takes them to Austria and they split them to where the 4-row machine has 2 separate plots going through it at once. And when you stop, it then weighs each plot separately. And we get the weight, the test weight, and the moisture out of it right there in the
It's got
machine.
the load cells on the machine and everything.
Sort of sounds fancy.
It sure does.
I mean, to me, I get my uncle's combine, and he's got like a 8230 or something. It's like, this is nice.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in that, and it's like, this isn't much different than what I started out with at FFR, which was a 615 case or international.
Does it have a cab?
It did. Actually, that's date me, I guess. That's
With a door about that wide on it.
Yeah. Well, that one was kind of revamped. It was a 615. It had a New Holland cab and a John Deere diesel motor in it. So we had 3 combines, 2 gleaners, and that one. That one had a radio and air conditioning. One gleaner was a really, really nice combine, really comfortable, only had a radio. The other one was kind of nice, but it only had air conditioning. So I had the best of both worlds, but I had the biggest piece of crap there was.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, when it comes to like spraying and stuff like that, that's pretty much all that stuff we made in house. Nitrogen applicators we made in house. So other than like the Skywalker that I don't know, I give you a picture of that as well.
Yeah.
That we still use it a little bit, but we're kind of getting away from it just because of the logistics of traveling around with it. And to explain that to you a little bit, the original one started out as a detasseling machine, and they put a boom on it, right? And they're like, well, we can't get over the corn. So they put 4 cylinders, a cylinder on each leg, to where they could lift it up and get over the top of the corn. So then after we got the first one made, then we started working with a company called RCI Industries. And they built the first one for us to where it actually worked respectably.
Getting over the top of the corn to do what?
It's fungicide sprays.
Okay.
So this came out, I think, I can't remember how many years, 5, 7 years, 10 years ago is when our first one was built. So, like I said, the first one was 4 individual cylinders. You had to pull levers to get each cylinder to go up, and try to get it to go up evenly was difficult. When we got the new ones, it was all electronic. You push a button, it raises itself up to 14 foot, and we could clear 14-foot corn with no problems. So it's just the logistics, and now we've got drones we can use.
Oh. So I bet that was a little bit tippy, wasn't it? 14 foot in the air on a narrow wheelbase.
It did start getting tippy. We were we were straddling 4 rows with it is what we would straddle. So we had 10 foot in between. So
are you going away from that and using the drones now?
Yes, the drones. We did some research the past 3 years on drones versus the Skywalker, and we weren't getting a whole lot of differences. So
really,
we're coming to the point, but I'm going to say that I know there's a lot of people that are saying the drones isn't where to go. And I can say on a big field level, I would kind of agree with you, but we're flying at 6 mile an hour, 8 foot over the cover crop versus 12 or 15 mile an hour and 10 foot over the cover crop or over the crop. So we are doing as slow and as low as we can go really and get a good coverage to make sure we are getting good data from the drones.
So you're probably using more gallons per acre than
we're going almost 2 gallon. I think it's 1.9 gallon of the acre is what we're putting on, or 2. It's right in there.
What was you doing with the ground sprayer?
That was 20.
20 gallons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's definitely the technology that I've seen through the years is getting crazy. But
Yep. How many plots are you over, your crew?
we have 6 locations here
6?
in Indiana.
Wow.
So we go from basically Dale, Indiana, clear up to Rochester, Indiana, and then east to west.
So in the spring, you guys are on the road, just hotels, and
Yep,
you're
absolutely.
just gone.
Yep. That's what happens, just like a farmer. We
Yeah.
try to be home our weekends, of course, but you start to get to a year like this, it's going to be difficult. You know, we're getting down to the wire. You know, I'm here. I got 2 full locations done. I got 2 locations I haven't started at. So, and they're bigger locations that I haven't started at. So.
Are they? I mean, have you drifted south to north then?
No. My furthest outsides are still be done.
No,
It's like a
wonderful.
split in bowling or something,
Wonderful.
right?
Okay.
But
So you're responsible for Indiana, and you're planting these plots, and so you get them all in, you get them all up. What's the rest of your summer look like?
well, of course, we're spraying them.
You're not on the beach, I guess.
Yeah,
No.
we'd like to. I mean, you're out there at Cortland some days. There's enough sand there.
Yeah,
you can
there's
think
some
it's
sand
the
there.
beach.
Yeah.
You know, most of the time the smell isn't congruent with the beach, though.
Yeah, for those not from the area, we got so you got some chicken houses around there.
Absolutely. But yeah, well, of course, we spray it with post spray. We side dress nitrogen on it, and then it's just small things. I mean, we got stand counts we got to do. We'll start doing that real quick because we are now using drones to do our stand counts. So we got to fly it at a low level, at a low speed, taking pictures. And then we got a program on the computer that we put it into. And then we will kind of train the program what is a corn plant, and then it'll count the plants for us. And then we just got to check it. Of course, then we've got all kinds of backpack sprays throughout the demo as well as the research.
So that part's not changed. That's still the same.
That
you
is
put
still
a
the
take an
same.
intern, put a backpack on them, and
Yep.
off they go.
And there's a bunch of them at the Cortland site this year, as well as we got the biological trials there, which I don't know if you guys have heard any of the bio-verified stuff. A lot of that comes from our biological trials that we're doing at that site. So
Got kind of a big event happening at that Cortland plot this year. Kind of big for us. What's going on this summer?
it's definitely big for me. We ain't done that for a long time, something like that. It's going to be the Elite Advisor Summit. Basically, all the elite sellers throughout the U.S. get invited to this. You know, not all of them are going to show up, I'm sure. They get invited, but there will be. Sounded like they're opening it up to more than they have in the past few years. Which
Maybe
kind
a
of
couple
surprised me.
hundred or something, maybe 150.
I thought they were talking closer to 300.
Oh,
this year
wow.
when it come to sellers as well as WinField employees.
Okay.
So
Is this a multi-day training?
it's a 1 day
Oh, it's 1 day.
at the field.
Okay.
But they're going to be in Indy for training the day before and the day after, I
Okay.
think, doing some stuff in the conference rooms and stuff.
That's awesome.
So
So you're taking them through. I mean, do they do this at multiple sites throughout the country in the same year? This is it for the year?
This is it for the year.
Okay.
The past 3 or 4 years, it's been up at River Falls, and I sound like it's time to move on and try something else. So we're the first one in quite a while that's actually gone to a quote answer plot. So
Well, good. That says a lot about your crew and what you're doing and the site. So I hope
Good.
we're a good host to have everybody.
yeah, I believe it's going to be great.
All right.
Okay. I don't know.
Ryan, have anything else?
Nope, I do not. We're looking forward to seeing you this summer when we get it growing. We just we know we're at various stages all over and rain every day. It looks like
Absolutely.
Kyle, we appreciate all you do. I mean, we do. People don't realize how hard it is. It's so labor intensive to get plot data, and a lot of times it's a little more convenient to get side by sides out in the field.
Yeah,
but to try to get the replicated data, the replicated trials, like your group does with the Answer Plot Network, and to try to get really low LSDs and where you can really trust the data, it just takes a lot of work and a lot of many replications,
Yep.
a lot of data points, and we really appreciate all the care you put into making sure that they all go in and get harvested.
Yep.
So
Glad I can help.
thanks for your time away from your families and here. So that's all we got. So that's another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Ag.
right.
If you enjoy what you hear, please like and subscribe.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.